Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Aliens, starring Sigourney Weaver, Carrie Henn, Michael Biehn, Lance Henriksen, William Hope, Paul Reiser, and Bill Paxton, directed by James Cameron. Now, last week, I forgot to bring this up. I brought up a director's cut that I saw in Alien last week. And now, like last week's movie, this week we'll have a special director's cut edition. I watched both for this review as well as the one from last week. Sorry I didn't bring it up, but I'll bring it again up this week. So before I discuss the 20 extra minutes in the movie itself, let's talk about the plot synopsis. The escape pod Narcissus drifted for 57 years before Officer Ripley and Cat Jones received the deep space rescue they were expecting at the end of the first movie, Alien, and the G.B.M.H and the prolonged cry-sleep find out that the life back home is almost as terrifying as Ripley's reoccurring chestburster nightmares. Now, not only has the woman outlived all of her earthling relations, but Weyland-Yutani Corporation bosses are unconvinced by Ripley's story of a homicidal, highly adapted alien parasite and demote her for blowing up an expensive freighter. Ripley learns that a sizable number of human paraformers have been living for decades on the very same planet where her Nostromo crew discovered the starship full of alien eggs, and isn't surprised when nervous suit Carter Burke comes to her with news that contact has been lost with the colony. Weyland-Yutani promises to reinstate Ripley as an officer if she joins the Black Ops team being sent and reestablish communications, and Burke assures psychologically scarred woman that any alien parasite they encounter will be killed and not be collected for future study. It takes 7 months for the battleship Sulaco to bring Ripley, Burke, an unapproved android named Bishop, and 12 cocky jarheads to their destinations. Early bravado crumbles as their drop ship sends the troop into a ghost town where the colony floors are stained with acid and facehuggers have been collected in science labs' specimen jars. Ripley finds a dramatized mute named Newt, it's spelled N-E-W-T, cowering in the air vents and quickly bonds with the girl. The rest of the colonists are found in the lower levels of the atmospheric processing tower, so created to the wall, so they can serve as immortalized hosts for a nest of alien eggs found there. A battle erupts between the Marines and numerous fully grown biomechanical beasts, resulting in several deaths. The destruction of the dropship and imminent nuclear meltdown of the base. Android Bishop has given the daunting task of patching into the opening silicos communications system, a remote control piloting a second dropship down for rescue before the colony goes kaboom. Meanwhile, Ripley learns that Burke is working to bring the alien facehuggers back to Weyland-Yutani Biological Weapons Division, and he tries to silence her by unleashing the spidery monsters while Ripley and Newt are asleep. The xenomorphs penetrate the barricades and engage the Marines in a final stand. That results in Newt's capture and the death of everyone but Ripley and named grunt Hicks. Ripley returns to the nest armed to the teeth and rescues Newt from her so-called created cocoon, coming face to face with the ghastly, hyperventilating, 14-foot tall alien queen. Ripley uses her remaining firepower to destroy the creatures of a posture re-enduring it to unable to lay more eggs before racing back to Bishop, Hicks, and the safety of a waiting dropship. But the queen secretly hitches a ride back to the Sulaco with the survivors and engages Newt in a dangerous game of cat and mouse once they've landed. Ripley straps on forklift suit as she wore in her time working the cargo does the cheers of the working mothers everywhere hurls the creature into the airlock and out into space as credits roll. Now, let me think of where to start with this review. Maybe on the positive sides of the movie, and there's just one little negative thing, and then I'll talk about the special director's cut editions. Well, let's start with this. Well, it's got some neat special effects, and if you haven't seen James Cameron's other works, such as these films, then you would know who he is on that boat. But did you know that he got someone Oscar nominated for their role on the iconic character as this actress? Sigourney Weaver herself got her an Oscar nomination for this movie for the role that she was playing, who was outstanding for the movie as Ripley. Well done, Sigourney. Well done. It is also a first for science fiction in general to get an Academy Award for a Best Actress award, like Sigourney Weaver got in this movie. And she will be playing that same character in the next two movies. Let's see how she does in the next 2 weeks. That scene where Hudson being played by this actor himself, which I'm going to say right now, poor bastard. And in case if you don't know what I'm saying, it's Bill Paxton, who died almost a month and a half ago. Which, that's a shame, poor bastard. And that scene where he tells Bishop to do the knife trick. And as they're doing the knife trick between the fingers, like boop, 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 on his hand. And he has his eyes and his mouth wide open and screams, "Ah!" Was absolutely freaking hilarious. I was cracking up. And his face was golden. It was golden. And personally, I thought his character was absolutely obnoxious in a way. It was just a lot of fun and hilarious, you know? And Bishop, in my opinion, is a better android than Ash was last week, being played by this actor. Lance Henriksen, in case if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, who I will be discussing in a few weeks in the goddamn series that I didn't want to talk about because I know how much people hate it, but you're going to kill me for this. I just know it, and I attached it to this series, and I should have attached it to the Predator that's coming out next year, but I am talking about this freaking series. As well as its dumbass sequel, AVP Requiem. I can't believe it either. You're going to shoot me, I just know it. I give you permission. But he was a good robot of an android named Bishop. Bravo, Lance. Bravo. You know, I like to meet James Cameron's mother for a reason. And here comes why. Because he makes his women, in every movie I've seen him doing it to, like, they first come as a weak protagonist at the beginning of those movies, as well, but at the end of the movies, they make them completely strong, like this strong. Well, a little stronger than that, but by the end of the movies as well, by making them doing extraordinary things such as Sigourney Weaver plus Kate Winslet in Titanic, or hell, even Jamie Lee Curtis in True Lies. Sorry, I don't have time to post the photos of which movies I'm talking about because I just did that quite a few times, so I'm going to stop it there for the evening. He has that gift where he can make women just as powerful as the men. Now, I've got one little issue with this movie, just one issue, and that is the character that I am going to call Newt, N-E-W-T, like I spelled it earlier, aka the little girl. First of all, she screams so loud it annoyed the hell out of me. I was like, damn, Stop screaming for the longest freaking time, girly! Second of all, the character is just annoying because her acting is pretty bad. And, hey, I can't blame her for that. That's every little kid that doesn't act in movies unless that they're Haley Joel Osment or any of the Olsen twins or any of that kind of stuff. But and then also she never did get to work again after this movie, despite her screaming Ripley a lot. That was one little problem I have with the film. Now, let's bring up the special director's cut edition, shall we? The one that James Cameron preferred over the theatrical cut. I noticed a couple of scenes that made it a little bit longer, I'll give you that. First off, maybe I'm going to talk about two in particular because I'm not sure how many more scenes there are, but I'm going to start with this. One scene where I felt Newt was just so damn annoying, but I'll get there. When you get a scene with her as well as her brother, she mentioned in the movie, and as well as the mother and the father. They're on this planet that Ripley visited in the first movie and got a glimpse of the horseshoe ship last week. This time, they got closer to that ship, and the mother and the father go out of the car to try to see what's going on and see if it's safe and all that kind of stuff. The mother will be dead as well as the brother off screen, but the father gets the face hugger on his face. And number two, well, before I get to number two, and then when we see the father get the face hugger on the screen, we hear little Newt screaming ah for I don't know, maybe 20 seconds. That's enough, Cameron. Don't make it too long. But next is the second scene where we have a scene where people have like a talk about something that's happening in that planet or in their ship or something. I don't remember exactly what it was because it's been a couple of days. And there are little kids playing in some restricted areas. That scene I felt was a little unnecessary because they show little kids playing in the restricted area and we don't need to see those people again. We don't even see them again, I meant to say. But yeah, the problem is that I don't think that was the smartest choice for Mr. Cameron. I'll just tell you that right now. Overall, my rating of this movie is a little bit higher than last week. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. I'm going to give this movie a 9.2 out of 10. It's an outstanding picture. And it's one of those rare sequels that is much better than the original film. James Cameron, not only did you get me to say that about this movie, but I've heard people saying that the second Terminator film is better than the first one. I have seen it. I don't remember it very well. But we'll see it when there's another Terminator coming. I don't know when that'll be. But well done, James Cameron. Well done. So I'll be back next week for Alien 3. Until then, game over, man. Game over.